Hello, welcome along to March's episode of the Tasting Hour. I'm Jason.
And I'm Gary.
Today we're going back over a couple of older cigars. Well, one older cigar, one older, how shall we say, master blender that we both really like when we're talking about Oscar.
Yeah, the cigar we're going to smoke in the second half has been on the UK market, but if I understood the representative correctly, wasn't totally successful compared to other of its type.
When you consider how his leaf Maduro, well, the leaf cigars in general have gone,
that coming in would have overshadowed
well and truly
most of it.
So the cigar we're having today, to start with, is going to be the hand roll cigars that we got given to us. I got during the big smoke fest of 25 last August. Now we smoked one of these
back in December.
It was December.
And here we are 4 months on from when we smoked them, which was 4 months on from the actual Smoke Event Festival. And we're going to see, and probably everybody will then have to refer back to episode 6 to find out what we said at the time and if we're saying anything different this time. In theory, we should be.
Yeah, in theory, they should have developed. They're still, to me, I should have dry boxed it a bit longer. It's a little bit damp in my hand.
I've got a little bit of dampness, but not that much. It might be, I should have taken them out of what they were in and left them in my lounge at home because that's a nice steady 52, which would have dried it out.
That said, the dry draw is very good. Not picking up a lot, but it's a good draw.
Yes, it's not tightly rolled at all.
You're going to like this with a match, which is interesting because today's 101 is lighting a cigar.
If this hasn't got too damp, sitting in my front area.
Oh, yes, you got it in one strike. I'm being lazy and using a lighter, but this will show you the difference in time. Which, in fairness, was only about 20 seconds, if that.
Thank God for the long matches. Otherwise, I burnt my fingers long ago. It's not quite all going at the top, but most of it's going. It'll catch up.
It's a little sweet. Not getting much out at the moment.
I'm finding my initial taste that's a little bit stronger than I remember from the first time. And it's not my first smoke of the day either.
This is my first cigar of the day. I deliberately waited, knowing that we were doing this, which was difficult. I won't lie. I was tempted to have something beforehand. Yeah, that's got a lot of, that is stronger. That's definitely sitting on the back of my...
It should have aged up a while.
Which is interesting because it shows you then, we've had this discussion off camera. I think a problem that's happening at the moment is cigars are not resting.
No, I think that's been very evident ever since COVID when cigar consumption, smoking went up.
Oh, yes.
And production fell down. And I think for all the countries concerned, everybody's been trying to catch up since then. And obviously those whose finances are a little bit better have been able to do it better.
Yeah.
But there are still cigars which are coming out which are not ready to... Perhaps should have had a little bit more time in the storeroom before they went into the cellophane.
I mean, this has had, as we were saying, this is about 8 months since it was rolled. And it's interesting to see that development in the 4 months since we smoked the last one. I kind of wish that we brought a couple more, actually, because in a year, that would be quite a different smoke, I think, in a year's time.
I think from my point of view, listening to what you just said, that explains some of the reason why people like to buy cigars and then will put them to one side and then slowly rest them as they take their mature stock and smoke that.
Yeah, they stack up their humidor and at the bottom is all the new stuff, and as the top of the humidor clears, they move them up. So
but I think that can, but then you have to know what you're buying, how they make the cigars and how to install them. If you take... from the interview we did with Rocky back at that time.
Yeah.
We followed his idea of that when he was testing that you wait 4 months and then another 4 months and try them again. And his cigar leaves have already been working away for 4 years
before he even does that.
And then you're showing it. And I think that time scale is important. And also, I remember when I was doing my Habanos course at Hunters and Franco in London, is that Cuba used to make the cigars and then they would go into storage for 6 months to deal with probably any of the ammonia and the other bits and pieces that they needed to have done with them before they were shipped out. And then in Hunters and Franco case, they'd often be in their warehouses for another year.
Yeah, so
and I think that's not happening at the moment. We both know it's not happening because we've seen the dates on the boxes.
We've both had boxes that were February 25 in July of 25. So it's like it clearly is not being left there to sit and rest.
And I think with the state of Cuban agriculture at the moment,
which is only going to get worse,
we're not getting the cigars at the flavour strength that they should be or could be.
And I think this has been a problem that's been coming for decades. You think, Davidoff left it in 89, 90 for that very reason. They felt then they weren't very good. Now, I've enjoyed some amazing cigars from the 90s because that's when my cigar journey started.
Davidoff's problem was security. You don't buy a box and have half a dozen plug cigars in it.
Yes.
And from that point of view, they're exactly right. And if Cuba's not willing to do that, you move away from that customer. As anybody in that situation, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And particularly when they've been trying to get them to alter that attitude over a 10-year, 12-year period. Then you move it to a country where they've got their head screwed on for that one.
Which is very much. I mean, you think of Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, all of them, their production, their quality control is so high. Although, as you and I have both experienced, even new ones are beginning to slip a little bit because they're struggling to catch up.
I think some of them are, or they're being a little bit too hasty because new firms are coming and taking some of the production, and perhaps they need to just take a little bit more care.
Yeah.
From what we heard from Scott Vines in the last interview that we did, most of these farmers and producers, La Flor Dominica, Galeria, as we know, Oscar, even Rocky, or maybe not so much Rocky, but the other two, because they make cigars probably for other people.
Well, Plasencia is a good example of that as well, because they make so many for others.
They have their own product identity, and they've been working with big people, and that's how they make their cigars. But they're going to make it for other people, and then they're going to ship them, and it's up to the other people to do it. And I would say that some of that isn't taken.
Yes, I think
they're not understanding the care that the original company is making.
Yeah, and they're not basically following that process through to the very end, whereas they are, because they're doing it for themselves. That actually, I have to admit, has got a nice sense of spice to it now.
Yeah.
So
and its construction is.
I would agree with you, but mine just
fell out.
Just fell off. I'm glad I was pairing it with this. This is the Balvenie American Oak. So this was a birthday present a couple of years ago from my daughter and my wife. So that's my whiskey of choice for today. I think actually that being a sweet American oak sort of whiskey should work quite well with this cigar.
Yes, this is strengthened up quite nicely. I did ask about what these were, because I saw the Phil Matthews from Brightleaf recently, who was at the event, and he didn't know. He assumed it was Cuban, but whatever.
No, I believe they were Dominican.
I would think it's probably Dominican. Cuban rollers, because most of the rollers are
taught there, and then leave.
Yeah. Or have already left and just continued rolling in a different country, along with the people who run the factories.
Which is one of the reasons you don't get Cuban rollers in the UK so much anymore. Because I remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was quite a thing to have a Cuban roller come over, roll your Cuban cigar, and then they would go back. The problem was they weren't going back. They were coming over and it was staying. Talking of things to try, Davidoff has just released a new cigar. The Puro Dominico. I believe I've said it right. I probably butchered that. And Roy and Michael, if you hear this, sorry. It's purely Dominican leaf. So it's an interesting idea. And it's nice to see they're actually still expanding their range.
Yeah, Puro, I mean, it'll be another light cigar from Davidoff, which is very much their main tradition in light cigars, and probably, as usual, rolled to their appropriate standard.
Yeah.
That they're well done for. It's just a shame we pay so much for them in this country compared to other countries.
Yeah, don't. This is a whole conversation that you, me, and the rest of our entire audience could talk about for hours. On that note, if you are enjoying these shows, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Really do drop comments. It's lovely to hear from people. We've got an interesting subject for the interview today. I'm going to change the subject quite seriously now, because this is a serious subject. It's something men do not talk about. And it is something we've had this discussion over the last few years. As we're getting older and society is changing, it's important that men actually talk about this.
There is a little bit more out there.
Yeah.
And there has been, I think, in the last 2 or 3 months. Usually it's aimed at the older people like me, who being now 71. You're aware that the body has gone into a certain mode from when you were back in your 40s or even your 50s from that point of view. And some of the things that were said in the interview, as you will see, are actually very interesting at all, indeed.
I think it's definitely an eye-opener. It is about prostate cancer, as we hadn't mentioned that. It's something I do think that we all need to talk about a lot more. Go and watch the interview, and we'll see you in about 10 minutes, and we'll discuss what we think, and hopefully give you some more insight. Tim, thank you very much for joining us on the Taste
very
Now
welcome,
podcast. This is a subject I think men generally do not want to talk about.
Indeed.
But I think it's something we do need to talk about.
Absolutely.
Talk to us about Somerset prostate.
In excess of 50,000 men a year are diagnosed with prostate cancer. And of those, there's in excess of 12,000 men a year who die of prostate cancer.
That's an interesting stat. I do remember as a child, it used to be 1 in 4 people would get cancer. Now it's down to 1 in 2.
Yes. Yes.
Societal's changed so much.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons we're not aware of it.
Indeed.
Because things have changed.
Yeah.
What do people need to do basically to find out?
Well, the thing that Somerset Prostate Support Association do is hold PSA testing sessions. Now, PSA, I don't know whether you know what PSA is. It stands for prostate specific antigen. And it's the level of a protein in the blood that can detect prostate cancer, probably other things as well. So the Support Association hold these events regularly. We do about 10 events a year where we have somewhere between 200 and 300 men who have this blood test to assess their level of PSA. We employ NHS-trained phlebotomists to carry this out. It's a simple blood test. Right. It takes about 2 or 3 minutes. It's like a normal blood test that you have at the GP.
Doctors. Yeah,
absolutely. But it's specifically for prostate cancer, of course. The results come back, and if the results are somewhere between a level of 2.5 to 4, that's a pretty satisfactory level of PSA. Anything above that should be probably referred to your doctor.
Right.
Now we have a level. We have another means of recognising this from the test itself, and it's called a sort of traffic light system. And you either have a green, an orange, or a red.
Yeah.
Green, that's fine. The great majority of people have a green, of course. The orange system is that your level of PSA is just a little bit high, and it might be a good idea to go along and see the GP, maybe to have a second test. But if it's red, you definitely ought to visit your GP.
Right.
And we find through our testing that somewhere between 5 and 10% of people have a red level of PSA.
That's a hell of a high percentage
It
when you
is.
consider that
It
you're
is
talking about
indeed,
300 people.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean, of course, that they have prostate cancer, because the PSA test itself isn't the be-all and end-all.
It's just an indicator.
It is indeed, yeah, but it seems to be the best that we have available at the moment.
Okay. How long does the test take? Is it literally within 24 hours, or is it
To get the results?
Yes.
You mean? No. We do it through another charity called the Graham Fulford Trust, who are a national charity as opposed to Somerset Prostate, who are a local charity. They arrange all the men who are being tested through their website. So men have to book on the website. And they get an email confirming their attendance, etc., etc. And after the tests are done, the results then go to a laboratory in London, a nationally appointed laboratory. And the results of the tests normally come out within 2 or 3 days maximum.
2 or 3 days.
So most of our tests happen on a Saturday because people are more available on a Saturday. And very often we're told that the results come back on the Sunday.
Wow.
So that's pretty good.
That's good, because that will put a lot of people's give them a bit of peace of mind. They're not going to be waiting for a week going, oh, is it bad, is it good?
Yeah.
When do you think people should get tested?
Well, I think the recommended age these days is 40. Not 50, as you were suggesting earlier.
Say, to me, I was always told it was around the 50 mark, which I hasten to add I have not been done.
No. Well, I think you should be,
probably.
In that case.
Yeah,
you must come along to one of our events.
Yeah, I will do, actually. It is something I do need to do.
Yeah.
It is interesting, though, because around 40 is when you, as an adult, is when I noticed my body starts to change a bit. I think your eyesight changes. You're basically, I don't know whether you get more comfortable, you notice things differently. You ache a bit more.
Yeah,
I think we all ache a bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so testing around that age probably does make more sense.
Well, it does, certainly. But I probably I haven't told you that I suffered from prostate cancer. I had prostate cancer 25 years ago. And the strange thing is I had no symptoms whatsoever.
That is the thing, isn't it? That's why it's such a problem, because it can go undetected for so long that when it does become a problem, it's often a bit late.
But the only reason it was found was that I had a general round-robin letter from my GP saying, would I like to be involved in a national testing session? Which obviously I took advantage of that, and that's how it was discovered. I discovered I had prostate cancer. What
is the treatment if you are discovered to have it? Because this is another thing that people don't talk about.
No, there are a number of treatments, but I just said I had it 25 years ago, and I was given 3 options to have my prostate gland removed, which I did eventually, to watch and wait, just to see how things would progress, or I think there was radiotherapy treatment.
To sort of shrink it down.
And I just opted for it's called a radical prostatectomy.
Right.
But I think maybe 25 years later, as we are now, I might not have had this treatment because there's so many more modern treatments. Like, as I said, radiotherapy. Brachytherapy, I think, is another treatment, which is I'm not too technical on these matters, but it's some sort of seed that's introduced around the prostate that damages it. You can also have the prostate gland frozen, and that presumably has some effect on killing the prostate cancer itself. So there are so many more modern treatments these days. In the early days of Somerset Prostate Support Association, we just handed out leaflets at supermarkets and things like that, but we just didn't find it was very effective at all. And of course, as prostate cancer has become more and more high profile, that hasn't become necessary. So we decided about 4 or 5 years ago that the way forward was to hold PSA testing sessions. And as I said earlier, that's what we do now.
How often do you hold these sessions?
Oh, probably on average, probably about once a month, once every 6 weeks.
So if people they want to do it, it's actually quite a quick time scale to get it done in.
Absolutely. The only thing is, I suppose, we hold them all over the county.
Yeah.
So you
have to
wouldn't-
find out
Yeah,
whereabouts.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. But they are publicised on our website, which is spsa.uk, and also on the other charity that we're related to, the Graham Fulford Charitable Trust. So you can find them on there.
Yeah.
Normally, these events are held on a Saturday because more people are available on a Saturday. Normally in a village hall or a church or somewhere like that.
Right.
We join with other organisations to help not only fund it, but to help to arrange it as well. Particularly Lions clubs. We do most of ours with Lions clubs. We also arrange events with Rotary. In fact, we're doing one with Mendip Rotary, and it's being held at Wedmore Sports Ground. I think it's in September this year.
Right.
And we're also relating now to golf clubs. We're doing a one with a golf club.
That's actually a very good place for,
because, of course, most golf clubs tend to be full of older members.
Yeah.
Which I know from being an ex-golfer.
I do know that obviously with the screenings going on, a lot of testing gets done, and you can have prostate cancer of one form or another. Not necessarily dangerous, it can be quite benign.
Yeah.
So although you're tested and you might be found positive, it might not be a bad positive.
Exactly, yeah. And that's probably comes back to one of the options that I was given, albeit 25 years ago, that you could just watch and wait.
And see if it actually is
It might
benign
not develop.
or-
Yeah, as you say, it's basically benign.
What's the actual thing as a bloke you should be looking out for? What's the first sort of warning sign to yourself?
I think it's if you're getting up too often at night to go to the toilet. That seems to be the most obvious sign.
So is it just like while you're sleeping, so not during the course of the day, if you see what I mean?
As far as I'm aware, no.
I suppose you more notice it more at night because you're actually having to get up.
Yeah.
Whereas during the day you wouldn't.
I think during the day it's more normal that you go to the loo anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's if you get up a number of times in the night. That is maybe a sign that it's worth getting tested if you're in that situation.
Right, so that's the interview with Tim. It's quite a humbling chat, if I'm honest. I am going to get myself tested, and Mark, my brother, who's actually doing the editing for this series, he again has also said it gave him food for thought. I think it's something that we should all do, and it is something I think that men are scared to do.
I would agree with that. But having had my blood test actually via my local doctor back in January, and as far as I understand, got a green light, and I had a full blood test.
Yeah.
I think there's quite a lot of interesting things from that interview. The first one I got was his point that 50,000 people a year get a red light.
Yes.
Get a red light.
Red or yellow light, they actually test positive to some degree.
To some degree, or need some form of treatment or care. If you're not quite sure what we mean by what 50,000 people look like, think of any big rugby match, football match, even cricket matches. Yeah. You've got crowds there on your widescreen of about 50,000 people.
Well, we were
give or take.
Yeah, I mean, Wembley Stadium is 90,000 capacity.
Yeah.
That's over half of Wembley Stadium.
Each year.
Twickenham Stadium for the rugby, that was 83,000-ish.
Yeah.
That's, again, well over half.
Yeah. And the figure he gave for people dying is 25%.
Yeah.
Which is high.
That's a quarter of those people then are not going to be there the next year to watch rugby again.
Even allowing for modern science.
Yeah.
But then, of course, will obviously depend on whether you've been tested in time.
Yeah. Is it caught in time? Is the treatment successful?
Yeah. I think the other point, which came as quite a shock, was that he had picked up the modern term that people should be testing down at 40. Traditionally, we all think it has been an old man's thing.
Yes.
So you think of people 70s or over, you're going to have a prostate problem or maybe even cancer from
I
it.
think that's it, isn't it? As you say, it's people in their 70s, they've got an enlarged prostate, which gives them the early symptoms of something, just body changing. So you always do assume then, oh, that's because you're getting old. I grew up, it was always your 50s. In your 50s, you get tested. I still haven't. I'm now 52, but I will be. And him saying, actually, no, it's now 40.
But 40 to me,
That's
at
young.
70 is young. And I think that there's another kind of statement going on there. There's lots of other stuff we know which were not really being talked about 30 years ago, which were being consigned to the over 60s, let's say. They've come back to 60 and then down to 50. Now they're suggesting 40. That means the blood test is there to help you because maybe there's a lot of that. Maybe there's more than just prostate cancer
Going on.
coming through the system that we should be aware of.
I think another stat to mention, 1 in 8 white men are likely to have symptoms or have prostate cancer, but it's 1 in 4 black men. Now that's an interesting definition, that it is, again, it comes down to genetics and environment and everything that you're doing, food, where you are, what you're doing in your life, agriculture, everything.
Yeah, everything to do with the environment that we live in, domestically or outside of the house.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
A lot more than we realise, I think, which is why I think they're bringing the age back.
Yes, because I think they're almost saying there's perhaps a little bit too much, but they don't want to panic people.
Yeah, they're trying to get it.
Or get people to talk about it.
Yes. But that said, do really get tested. You'll find all the information in that interview. We'll put links to everything in the description. So you'll be able to find where to go and the importance, basically, of help and advice. So do get yourself checked. I shall be getting it done, and I'll let you know when I've got it done, how easy it was. Let's change the subject slightly, shall we?
Yeah.
I'm impressed with this. This is really growing on me.
I think in some ways, it's actually matured nicely more than it was 4 months.
If
ago.
I'd smoked both of them back then, I would have been quite disappointed. Because the first one was all right, but only all right. This is actually, this is quite nice. If I was given this as a gift, I'd be incredibly impressed and felt really spoiled. It is expensive for what it is.
It is, and I think we said it even in December. It is part of the show.
Yes.
So the amount of money we paid, which I think was £35 a piece, yes, it is a lot of money, but you had 2 rollers doing it for you on time.
Yeah.
So it's a limited production, and their time there has to be dealt with.
Yes.
And all those costs. So
I don't begrudge them at all. In fact, when we go again, because we are going to go again this year, I shall be getting a couple more, so we can do this experiment again next year and see if actually it changes. That's of course if they have got rollers this year. We still don't know yet.
we don't know. They've published the date of it, and they've even talked about early bird tickets for it, which seems a bit surprised because I haven't seen a cast list yet.
Yes.
Which I forgot to press Phil about to see if he knew who might be coming. That really needs to be announced fairly soon, because I would think quite a lot of the people who went last year will want to go back, but they will want to know before they commit not only to the money but also the travelling time.
It's actually quite even for us, it was 3 hours?
3 hour drive.
For us, each way. So that's 6 hours out of your day before you even start. But it is definitely worth it, and we're definitely doing it again this year. Let's move on to this month's 101, which is actually touching on a subject that we've started last month, which was how you cut the cigars. This is how to light a cigar. So, this month's 101, we're going to do how to light a cigar. I know a lot of people think it's really easy. Well, there's several ways to do it. My preferred way of doing it is with a jet lighter because it's more controllable. So I'm going to pick a nice little Cuban for this one. I'm using my usual B cup. I'm going to use a very over-the-top cigar lighter. This one was sent to me by Rebellion. What you want to do, let's put it onto this angle. What you want to do is just literally hold your cigar about 45 degrees to the lighter. And then slowly paint back and forth as you rotate the cigar until you get a nice charcoal, sort of almost burning note. What you do there is you blow the excess smoke away so you can see how it's doing. That's about halfway there. As I said, this is an overkill in terms of the lighter. You'll see it just start to go white. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much lit. So now what I'll do, take a draw, and as I take the draw, one last hit with the lighter and we're good to go. And there you go. That's how you light a cigar. Right, so there's the 101. Gary's already on to his next cigar, which is one that I'm quite intrigued to do. I'm a big fan of Oscar, as everybody knows. It probably is my favourite New World cigar.
And I will admit I probably am as well, partly because I think he's a great cigar maker, at least of the ones I've tried. And certainly when you understand his pedigree, having worked for Rocky,
yeah.
you understand what's going on. But he's not the only one in Honduras. There's quite a few other people there. Cavalier is one. What we've got here is a Maduro version of 2012. It has been on the UK market. You only get the green and brown 2012 barber pole,
Yeah,
which
that's
you
the
have
one.
seen.
Yes, which is the one people have seen me smoke, and we've talked about, and we showed on the last month's show. We actually showed, because very typically a St. Patrick Day smoke. So this one, I'm going to cut slightly different to Gary. Gary's done a V cut, but he's done his across the cap. I'm actually going to go down the cap. So this will be interesting. So I've gone down, and you've gone across. So this will be interesting to see what the difference in smoke time. The draw, that's tighter than the custom rolls we started with today. And it's a much firmer cigar. I mean, that's actually rock solid. I mean, I'm worried about that from a draw point of view, whether this will smoke. So you've gone again for the match, and I'm going back for the lighter.
Well, the old cigar match is the traditional way of doing it originally, before jet flames and other countryside activities of cigar smoking, which got relegated out of the house.
It's an interesting thing as well. I think back in the day, and I'm going to sound old now, but back in the day when you did smoke inside, using a match was easy because you're inside. The studio here is enclosed, so actually there's no breeze. No. You can use a match.
You can use use a short match or a long match. When later in the year, hopefully we're back in the garden again.
Yep.
We'll be back to using jet flames because there's bound to be a little breeze just to mess it up, but we might get lucky. This is actually drawn slightly better than I did the first one. I should say, I brought these in Germany on my recent visit, which I mentioned that I was off to go and do in the last program. I did get into Lake Como district for 4 nights in late February. Wasn't able to film anything there because there's not much in the way of tobacco shops in Italy. It's quite restrictive the way they operate. And the one little pipe factory that I wanted to do was temporarily closed, which it made sense to me. 1, it's winter. 2, the Winter Olympics just finished. The Paralympics are currently on as we're recording this. And quite frankly, it's a good time to be anywhere but.
Yeah.
But the second part of my trip was into Germany to Munich, which I actually thoroughly enjoyed. I visited, there's quite a lot of tobacco shops you go in. Some are big kiosks, but there are 3 main shops I got into in Munich. I found them an absolute dream to go.
Do me a favour. Hold that cigar and tell me if you think that is plugged. That's not drawing very well at all. So this is the construction issues we were talking about, even with New Worlds. The first one of those I had, perfect. That one is very tight.
It's tight here.
Yeah. That's where if it's going to go tight, it is commonly under the band.
Yeah, it is tight there.
So
It's actually slightly soft down the bottom.
So I'm going to actually have to use a perfect draw on a New World cigar. So yes, it does happen even with New Worlds.
But of all the cigars we smoked in the last 9 programs, and the rest.
Yeah, I mean, you think about how many cigars I've smoked. This is probably the 3rd time with a New World cigar in at least 18 months. Now, with Cuban cigars, I wish I could go a month where I didn't have to use a perfect draw. That's the difference. So I don't mind occasionally having to do it. But that's why one of these are a godsend for saving cigars. So Gary did bring back a selection of cigars.
Yes,
Gary wants to show you that.
There is a duty-free allowance allowed, and you make the most of it. So if I pick up this box here, and hopefully you've got it right at the camera, there's the selection here. There's about 8 or 9. Some are Nicaraguan, some are Dominican. I think there's a Honduras in there. Most of these will turn up over the next few shows. There's even an African cigar in here, the Bongombe, which is from Mozambique, of all places.
I'm quite intrigued by that one because it's such a different region for us.
It's a very different region, yet parts of Africa, particularly Zimbabwe, are really were tobacco manufacturing countries, mainly for pipe tobacco, in the case of Zimbabwe. You don't often think of them as cigar-making factories.
No, you don't.
But this is in Mozambique. They're using... I'll give more detail when we get to it.
Yes.
The other one I got from Germany as well was a couple of Oscars.
I am very much looking forward to trying those.
This is actually the Kojo version, or for those who can't remember what Kojo means, it's the new word for Habano, because we're not allowed to say it. Oops, slap wrist. It's not on the market in the UK in the leaf version. There is a Kojo from Oscar, but not in the leaf version. So at some point we're going to get our chops on these, and probably maybe in the next program, and we will smoke them. I left them in the plastic because they actually sealed up the plastic bag for me, so they're staying in mint condition, and I'm carefully firming it to make sure that I get one that's tight and they're not plugged. But that would be, well, it is a surprise from Oscar.
It is, but this does go back to the comment we made in the last month's show, where Oscar's expanded. And I think that is a side effect of the expansion.
And I didn't check any of the boxes to see when their dates were on. Then I did on some of the Cuban ones, and the few Cubans I found over there, all for the next program.
That's definitely saved it. That is now actually quite a smokable cigar. So it shows you having a perfect draw is definitely an investment worth having.
I'm finding this better actually than the first one I smoked, which I smoked at home. It was perhaps a little bit loose. This one's got more body to it. It's a nice cigar, nice Maduro, few little hints here and there.
I'm getting some of the flavours through. It's getting easier to draw now. That is a problem when you have a restricted draw. You're not getting that development. But it's beginning to get there, which is good. I'm going to have to reserve judgment, I think, until I get about halfway for me. Trident Military Cigars, they're also having a new cigar released in April. So hopefully when we record the next show, we'll be able to bring you more of the details for that one. Because I think they're such a young company. When they release something, it's quite interesting to see the direction they want to go.
I think that will be interesting, particularly having done the interview. If we get our timing right, the next retail event for retailers in the cigar world is actually in May, which I hope they will be at.
Yes.
We will drop them a line to hint that at least I will be up there. Whether Jason comes up as well, we'll go. In which case we shall, because the date of the show is also the date we often record the show to give us time so that we've got it right for the last Friday of the month. but we'll actually be able to actually smoke them there. We might even do the interview there, or do the testing actually at the show. We can then show it to you live, as you might say, in that sense.
Hopefully, but we'll keep you posted on that one. So whilst we think about it, a couple of things to look out for. Next month, we're doing a different sort of interview. It'd be more of a Zoom-based interview with me. I'm doing it with Call of the Wild Music Festival, which is coming up in May, and Rebellion Cigars have partnered with them. Now, for those of you who don't know, Rebellion Cigars are probably most commonly known as partnering with Eddie Hall, who is the world's strongest man, who has a very pink cigar label, and it's got a cigar called The Beast. Gary's going to smoke that cigar in the next episode. So it'd be interesting to see what you think of that, and whether it is a celebrity cigar, therefore has too much hype, or is it a celebrity cigar that's actually worth it? I mean, the M81 is a celebrity cigar that is definitely worth it.
Yes, and you can really tell that there's a difference with the 81 because it's something that James Hesketh wants to smoke all the time.
Yeah.
And the story behind it with the rollers going and making selections for him, it is for him to smoke as well as the other two.
Yeah, it just happens to be released to public.
And that's a great difference to something, as you said, or is it just a celebrity cigar?
I mean, the other cigar, the celebrity one that comes to mind is the Conor McGregor one. Now that I've heard things about, and in fairness, I'd heard it about all of these celebrity cigars. You've had it over the years as well with celebrity alcohol. I mean, oh God, who is it? Dan Aykroyd, famous for tequila. That actually is not a bad tequila, but there are some other, shall we say, famous celebrities out there that have done alcohol that have gone literally 5 minutes and then just vanished because they just weren't good enough. So it'll be interesting to get your view on that. And I will put that to them in the interview as well to see what their reasoning was behind it. This, now having used the perfect draw, I've got to admit that's really opened it back up and it's saved it. It's a very old school cigar.
Yeah, it is. It reminds me of some of the more earlier Maduros that are around. Very different, but the Brick House Maduro, which is a lovely smoke in its own right. There's nothing wrong with this. But I can see in some senses, in some markets, with the leaf having come down, with a slightly sweeter start to the smoke of the leaf, and its connotation with the leaf around the cigars, to pick those up again, has probably taken them away.
Yeah, I think...
to a lot of people.
Yeah, if I'm honest, given the choice, the Leaf by Oscar is going to win pretty much every time. It's a nice cigar to try, and it's nice to refresh your palate in a different direction.
Yes, it's not strong in any particular direction. It's just got a very nice, as I said in the 101s, Maduro will do this, just has a nice, good, solid flavour. Not in any particular direction, but just particularly nice.
Now I'm about halfway through. I'm actually going to do a purge, essentially. This is something that I obviously introduced you to probably about 18 months ago now, because it's something that it was introduced to me years and years ago. And this is one of the reasons we do the 101s. People don't know unless they're told or taught. And you said it's actually really improved your experience with a lot of cigars that you didn't expect.
Yes, very much so. I enjoy doing it quite often. Sometimes I do leave cigars, as I've said before. Okay, it's sacrilege out there, fine. But not everybody will smoke a cigar all the way through. And it's important to know a couple of things to do, which I've said before. You should always blow through it when you restart the cigar. But actually, I tend to actually purge it before I put it down.
That's the best trick. Purge it before you put it down and then let it go out. Because it go out within about 40 seconds to 2 minutes once you've purged it. Also, then when you do come back, it's not got any of the stale nicotine in it and smoke. So it's much sweeter to start to begin with.
And it also changes. You then pick up, when people are talking about the notes of the cigar changing. That's the most thing I've found, is that, yes, it really does change halfway down, or what it's doing at the end. A classic example of having purged a cigar was the Cavalier that we smoked at Christmas.
Yes, that made it very different.
So a very different cigar.
Yeah.
And one or two of the others I've tried already from Germany. I've been doing that towards the end to see what the cigar's doing. And I think it's a measure of the skill of the blender as well. You're checking out really, and that makes a good cigar.
It's it's like what I do with my Infinity Drams. It's taught you about blending. That's why I do them, and we will do that in future episodes of this show. But it's something to give you a bit more education and a bit more understanding. So that will be next month's 101. But yeah, I do think it actually has changed it. That's made it quite a bit lighter for me.
It's lighter, and we're outside. So the humidity is just starting to get at the cigar a little bit. It's not bad, though. I've had worse. Smoking outside in Germany, because I had to smoke outside, it was a lot chillier than it is in here. I was actually wearing gloves on one occasion. And on one occasion, I was having to let the cigar go out because I needed to do something else and then come back to it later, apart from getting cold. Smoking a cigar outside in Italy wasn't a problem because it was a nice sultry 19 degrees, but shame I didn't get into the video for that one. But no, it makes a lot of difference actually purging. And then I think for those who want to experience something else from that, it's a very useful thing to have in your cigar smoking knowledge.
I think it's one of those things as well. It just gives you a better understanding, and it's a talking point. Because my biggest issue is I don't know how much I know that people around me don't know, because I take it for granted. And that's why I like doing the 101s, because it's like, well, here's a little bit of knowledge. It makes you feel more comfortable in the environment.
That's very important. You know how I operate in the shop. And anybody who's a regular to the shop will also know how I operate as well. And I'm all about the customer experience, because that's what customer service should be. And most tobacco shops, good tobacco shops, will do that, or should do that. Another one I also get asked, which we're going to explore in later programs, we'll do some 101s on that, is the effect on the humidity. And I will bring from the shop now, for every program, a little humidity gauge, so you can see
I think that's a good idea.
What we're smoking in. And if it changes through a program, what that's doing to our cigars. But also, I think most people will also deal with humidors.
Yes, I think that's one of the most common questions I've been asked, actually, to do humidors.
Probably better left to a 101, some explaining on what goes on with the humidor and really how many cigars you're really smoking.
Yeah, I think the problem is people, especially when they start their collections, all right, I got a 400 count humidor. I need to put 400 cigars in there. And I think that's a mistake.
It is a mistake, and most of the time, you've got to be a regular smoker with a good selection of cigars in a box to make it worthwhile. Most people, I've had people come in who they're smoking one or two cigars. It's not worth buying a humidor.
At that point, it's worth having a Tupperware box and just put a Bovida pouch in it, and you're good to go. Keep it out of sunlight, and it'll work.
It will definitely work. And the other side is most of the New World cigars are already sealed in cellophane, so they are well protected anyway.
Yes.
But more on that in another program.
Exactly. We won't dwell on that. What we are going to do, though, is we're going to move on to a new section, which is one I've been trying to do since we started, and I've finally been able to get them done. This is cocktails. Basically, it's pairings, because this is another question I get asked a lot. What do you pair with drinks and why? So this month, Bluebird Cafe in Wedmore, they've been very kind and they've agreed to do some cocktails for us. Have a watch and we'll talk about it afterwards.
Hello, I'm John from the Bluebird Cafe and Bar in Wedmore, and today I'm going to make an espresso martini. Firstly, we'll get ourselves a martini glass and a couple of pieces of ice in there just to chill the glass down. Just get a coffee ready. So our vodka, coffee liqueur, and some sugar syrup. Some ice in our cocktail shaker, about half full. Then we put our various ingredients in. So it's a double measure, 50 ml of vodka. A single measure for our coffee liqueur. And a dash of the sugar syrup. And in there we'll add the coffee, warm coffee, which will start melting the ice. So give it a good shake. How long we shake it really depends on how hard the ice is, but I can feel that's breaking up, so that's good. Pop the lid off and give it a pour. It's lovely. Then to finish it off, some coffee beans, and place 3 of those on the top there. There you go, that's your espresso martini.
Thank you, John. So yeah, the espresso martini, which I have to admit is a personal favourite of mine. The cigar I would pair with this is a very classical cigar. It's the Ramon Alanis Specially Selected. Right, so there you go. For the espresso martini, I chose a Cuban. I did go for the Ramon Alanis Specially Selected, which is otherwise known as a Raz, because everybody just abbreviates it essentially. To me, that's very much a classic Cuban cigar. I think anybody who smokes cigars a lot, especially if you smoke Cubans, that's always a default. It's like the Montes. It's that sort of era of cigars. What other cigars would you consider pairing with something like the espresso martini? You got the coffee, so you got the buzz, and then you got the obviously the alcohol, so you got the downer.
Probably not a light cigar because of the coffee element. Martini wise, depends which vermouth was being used. Probably not a strong cigar. I think the Ramon Alanis, if I'm thinking of the New World cigars, any of the kosher wrappers.
Okay.
So that would put the Galeria Shavata.
Actually, the Gallery, that would be good.
Because that has a nice amount of flavour to it. Some of the others, like the PDRs that we smoked, probably not. They're a bit too light.
Yeah, I think they would get lost.
Some light Maduros. Oscar Maduro would probably, the leaf would probably work.
Probably do it.
This might be slightly on the strong side. But it's all subject to taste.
This is it. I mean, this is why we both travel around with portable humidors. You don't know what you want until you want something. And you don't know what you want until you know where you are. So it is always a case of, well, what are you smoking? Don't know yet. That's why I have a selection.
Yeah.
And I'll pick from that selection when the moment arises.
Exactly. And to bring in a catering thing, that's exactly what you do when you go into a restaurant. You're looking at the menu, you decide what you're going to do, and then they bring you the wine list, and you're thinking, okay, we're having that. I feel like that one today, and this one. And
this one will pair with it because
that suits that taste of that dish or whatever you're doing.
Right. I think that almost gets us towards the end of the show. Anything else we need to touch on, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's probably about it for this program. Otherwise, we'll be into the second hour. That will be far too much for everybody, including ourselves, probably to edit and think about as well. So please don't forget, if you like us, subscribe to us, press the share button, and hopefully we'll see you on the next program next month. Have a happy Easter in the meantime.
Yes, and we'll see you soon.
Bye now.